Welcome to the channel where we expose the manipulative tactics of narcissists and give you the power to take back control. If you've ever felt trapped in a toxic relationship, struggling to make sense of their mind games, you're in the right place. Today, we're uncovering a truth narcissists don't want you to know. The silent treatment can backfire, and when it does, it sends them into full-blown panic. Have you ever wondered what really happens when you don't react? When a narcissist expects you to crawl back and beg for their attention, but instead you completely ignore them? Narcissists weaponize silence to make you feel guilty, confused, and desperate for their validation. They believe they can control you by shutting down communication. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. When you don't react, they lose their power, and it drives them insane. Your silence is something they never saw coming. It bruises their fragile ego. They start spiraling internally, questioning themselves, panicking that they're losing control over you. They may try to provoke you, lash out in anger, or even seek out someone else to manipulate. In today's video, we're diving deep into the narcissist's true reaction when the silent treatment backfires. You'll understand why ignoring them is the most powerful revenge, and how you can flip the script in your relationship with them. If you've ever been subjected to a narcissist's cold, calculated silence, don't miss this video. And if you love content like this, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Let me give you an example. You and your partner have a small disagreement. No yelling, no name-calling, just you expressing an opinion they don't like. And instead of responding, they suddenly go silent. They don't text back, they ignore your calls, they shut down completely. If you live together, they walk past you like you don't exist, sit at the same table but won't make eye contact, sleep next to you but turn their back. No explanation, no discussion, no resolution. You start feeling anxious, you wonder what you did wrong, you replay the conversation over and over in your head, trying to figure out your mistake. Maybe you even apologize for something you didn't do just to break the unbearable silence. And when you do, they win. This is the silent treatment, one of the most insidious forms of emotional manipulation that narcissists use to control your emotions and behavior. The silent treatment isn't just someone refusing to talk to you. It's a psychological weapon, a manipulative tool designed to make you feel unsettled, confused, and ultimately surrender. When a narcissist gives you the silent treatment, they're not just avoiding a conversation. They're deliberately creating an atmosphere of tension, an emotional vacuum that pressures you into doing whatever it takes to break the silence. And most importantly, they want you to believe it's your fault. Maybe you said or did something they didn't like. Or worse, you dared to stand up for yourself, you set a boundary. But instead of handling it like a mature adult, they choose to punish you with their cold, calculated silence. They might ignore your texts, let your calls go unanswered, or shut you out completely. If you live with them, they'll put on a show right in front of you, walking past you, making it painfully obvious that they're ignoring you without saying a word. It's a form of covert control, where you're not just hurt, you're forced to question yourself. What did I do wrong? Was I too harsh? Should I apologize just to end this? But here's what you need to understand. The silent treatment isn't a punishment. It's a trap. It's not a reflection of your mistakes. It's a sign of their inability to control you in any other way. So why do they use it? Does it actually work? And most importantly, how can you break free from this manipulation? Let's dive deeper in the next section of this video. So why do narcissists use the silent treatment instead of communicating like a mature adult? Because they're not interested in understanding or resolving issues. They're interested in power and control. Their silence isn't just a reaction, it's a calculated move designed to break you down, keep you off balance, and make you submit to them. They don't just want you to feel bad. They want to reshape the way you think, feel, and act. They want to turn you into someone who constantly yields, fears upsetting them, and ultimately puts them above everything else. Here are the 5 real reasons why narcissists use the silent treatment and what they hope to gain from it. 1. to control and manipulate you, reinforcing their power. Their primary goal is to control you. They don't just want to win an argument, they want you to learn to obey them unconditionally. When they go silent, they are throwing you into emotional distress, forcing you to chase after them to restore balance. They want you to feel anxious, off-center, and willing to do anything to get their attention back. The moment you beg for their attention, apologize, or give in, they know they've taken control of your emotions. And when they control your emotions, they control your behavior. This is what they want, to turn you into someone who constantly seeks their approval. 2. Gaslighting, making you doubt yourself for easier manipulation. Narcissists don't just ignore you. They use silence to make you question yourself instead of recognizing that their behavior is the real problem. They want you to blame yourself, wonder if you were too sensitive, too demanding, or even selfish. They distort your reality to make sure you no longer trust your own feelings. And when you start doubting yourself, they achieve their biggest victory. You will hesitate to challenge them in the future. You will accept their manipulation as a normal part of the relationship. You will give in more easily because you genuinely believe you are at fault. Their goal is to break your confidence so they can manipulate you even more over time. 3. To avoid responsibility and always play the victim. Narcissists hate accountability. In their world, they are never wrong. So when you call them out on their actions, demand honesty, or ask for a mature conversation, they evade responsibility by going silent. If you tell them they hurt you, they ignore you. If you ask for an explanation, they dismiss you. If you expect an apology, you'll never get one. Their silence is not just a refusal to communicate, it's a declaration of power. I don't owe you an explanation. I don't need to be accountable. You are the problem. They want you to feel powerless and isolated so that you end up dropping the issue and moving on as if nothing happened. 4. To punish you and teach you, never to challenge them again. A narcissist's silence isn't just about control, it's about punishment. They want to teach you that if you go against them, you will suffer the consequences. Their punishment is making you feel invisible and worthless. They want you to feel abandoned, discarded, and like you no longer matter to them. And this pain is meant to teach you a lesson. Never challenge them again, never demand respect, and always go along with whatever they want to avoid being punished again. They are conditioning you to become completely submissive, accepting that this relationship is all about them, never about you. 5. To maintain power and keep you from leaving. Ultimately, narcissists use the silent treatment to reinforce their dominance and maintain long-term control. They want you to constantly fear losing them so that you are willing to do whatever it takes to hold on to the relationship. They may extend the silence for days or even weeks, making you panic and accept anything just to make things right again. They might mix silence with sudden acts of kindness, confusing you about who they really are. Or they may start seeking attention from someone else, making you feel replaced and insecure. Everything they do is designed to keep you dependent on them, even though they are the ones causing your pain. They don't care about you, they only care about keeping you under their control. The silent treatment isn't needing space, nor is it a healthy way to handle conflict. It's a highly manipulative tool designed to make you doubt yourself, feel powerless, and become emotionally dependent on them. If you find yourself stuck in this cycle, remember this: you are not to blame. Their silence does not define your worth. You deserve respect and healthy communication. They're not silent because you're wrong. They're silent because they can't control you in any other way. The silent treatment from a narcissist isn't just about ignoring you or cutting off communication. It's not just them disappearing and leaving you anxious and uncertain. In reality, they have multiple ways of using silence as a tool of manipulation, keeping you in pain, making you question yourself, and ultimately forcing you to chase after their validation. One of the most common forms is complete silence. They suddenly disappear from your life without warning. No replies to messages, no answering calls, and no response no matter how much you reach out. If you live together, they walk past you as if you don't exist, going about their daily life while completely disregarding your presence. This isn't just a cold reaction, It's a calculated punishment. They want you to feel abandoned, uncertain, and desperate to fix things. The longer the silence lasts, the more it eats away at you, until you eventually apologize, even when you did nothing wrong. But sometimes, instead of completely cutting you off, they choose a more subtle approach by responding in a cold and detached manner. They may give you short, emotionless replies like yes, no, or over there, without making eye contact or showing any emotion. This type of silence carries a clear message. You did something wrong, and now you must suffer the consequences. The emotional distance they create keeps you in a state of confusion and insecurity. You find yourself trying harder to regain their warmth, doing whatever it takes to break down the invisible wall they've built. This is a form of passive punishment, conditioning you to work for their approval. Another highly manipulative form of the silent treatment is when they refuse to communicate with you directly, but use a third party instead. Rather than speaking to you, they might use a mutual friend, a child, or a co-worker to relay messages. Instead of telling you where the keys are, they say to the child, "Tell your mother the keys are on the table." Instead of informing you about dinner plans, they let a friend casually mention, "He said he won't be joining tonight." This isn't just avoidance, it's a power move. It's their way of showing you that you are not important enough for direct communication. It also allows them to control the narrative, making themselves look like the reasonable one while making you feel sidelined and insignificant. Beyond just using third parties, some narcissists extend the silent treatment for an extreme length of time, dragging it out for days, weeks, or even months. At first, you may think they just need time to cool off, but the longer it goes on, the clearer their true intention becomes. They don't want resolution. They want you to break first. They know that the longer they withhold communication, the more anxious and desperate you'll become. Eventually, you'll be willing to do anything just to restore peace, even if it means accepting all the blame. This form of control is especially dangerous because it creates emotional dependence, making you feel as though you can't function without their validation. Perhaps the most insidious tactic of all is when they mix silent treatment with sudden moments of affection. One day they act like you don't exist, making you feel worthless and invisible. Then, out of nowhere, they're kind again, sending a sweet text, giving you a compliment, or showing warmth as if nothing ever happened. This emotional whiplash keeps you constantly on edge, wondering what version of them you'll get next. It creates an addiction to their validation, leading you to believe that if you just try harder, if you're just a little more patient, you'll get the loving version of them permanently. But in reality, they are only manipulating you further, ensuring that you stay hooked and under their control. The silent treatment is far more than just ignoring someone. It's a calculated psychological weapon. It's designed to weaken your sense of self, make you doubt your own reality, and keep you emotionally tethered to them. If you recognize these patterns in your relationship, remind yourself that you do not deserve this kind of treatment. You don't have to chase after someone for validation. Their silence says nothing about your worth, it only exposes their toxicity. Narcissists use the silent treatment as a weapon, believing you'll panic, beg for attention, and eventually surrender. But what they don't expect is that you can turn the tables on them. When you don't react the way they want, no begging, no fear, no attempts to make peace, they lose control. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than losing power. So how do you make their silent treatment completely backfire? How do you turn their manipulation into their biggest failure? Get ready, because in the next section, I'll show you how to take back control and make them self-destruct. Narcissists believe the silent treatment is their ultimate weapon. They expect you to feel abandoned, panic, and eventually give in. But what they don't see coming is that you can turn their own game against them. When they expect you to chase, apologize, and beg for their attention, you do the opposite. You strip them of their power right in front of them. So, how do you handle the silent treatment and make it completely backfire? 1. Don't react. Let them sit in their own silence. The first and most important rule: don't react. They expect you to feel lost, desperate, and emotionally unstable. They want you to blow up their phone, ask what's wrong, try to fix things, and most of all, blame yourself. Don't give them that power. If they stop texting, you stop texting too. If they ignore you at home, go about your day as if nothing happened. When they realize their silence isn't breaking you, they start losing control. They might try to provoke you, lash out, or switch to another manipulative tactic. That's how you know you're winning. 2. Shift your focus back to yourself. Live your life without them. Instead of sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong? Start asking, what can I do to enjoy my life more? This is the perfect time to focus on yourself. Spend time doing things that make you happy. Reading, working out, going out with friends, or picking up a new hobby. Not only will this make you emotionally stronger, but it will also make them panic. Narcissists need to see you suffer in order to feel powerful. But when you're not suffering, when you're actually thriving without them, it destroys their sense of control. They expect you to break, but instead you shine. 3. Stop trying to make them change, they never will. One of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with the silent treatment is believing that if they explain enough, if they are patient enough, the narcissist will understand and change. But the truth is, they don't care. They're not using the silent treatment because they're hurt. They're using it to control you. Instead of trying to pull them into a conversation, accept the reality. A mature, emotionally healthy person would never use silence as a weapon. Once you realize this, you stop feeling the need to chase after them or prove anything to them. 4. Don't play their game. Refuse to engage in the cycle. When they realize you're not reacting, they may switch tactics. They might suddenly mix silence with unexpected affection. One day they ignore you, the next day they act sweet, as if nothing ever happened. Don't fall for it. This is just another trick to keep you under control. They want you confused, so you start believing that if you try harder, if you're more patient, you'll get their love permanently. But that will never happen. Don't get caught in the toxic loop. Stay firm. Don't react when they're cold, and don't rush to trust them when they act warm. 5. Set boundaries or cut them off completely. If you can't remove them from your life immediately, because they're a family member, co-worker, or someone you live with, set firm boundaries. Don't allow them to manipulate you with silence anymore. If they ignore you, treat it as peaceful time for yourself. Don't try to break the silence. Let them deal with the consequences of their own behavior. But if this is a toxic relationship and you have the option to walk away, consider going no contact. Someone who uses silence to control and punish you will never offer you real love and respect. They will keep playing this game as long as you let them. The most powerful way to make a narcissist's silent treatment backfire is to refuse to let it affect you. When they can no longer control your emotions, they lose their strongest weapon. When you don't react, don't beg, and don't try to fix things, they realize their manipulation has failed. Nothing terrifies a narcissist more than losing their power, and the only way to make them fail is to take that power away. Show them that their silence doesn't hurt you, it only exposes their own weakness. When you do that, you've already won. If you've ever been subjected to a narcissist's silent treatment, I know how unsettling it feels. It makes you question yourself, doubt your worth, and wonder what you did wrong. But here's the truth. Their silence doesn't define you. It only exposes their manipulation. And if you know how to handle it, you can make it completely backfire on them. Dr. Ramani Devasula, a leading expert on narcissism, once said, "Narcissists aren't looking for love or connection, they're looking for power, and the silent treatment is one of their most effective tools to maintain that power. When they cut off communication, they're not just trying to hurt you, they're trying to control your emotions and behavior. They expect you to feel anxious, desperate, and eager to please them. But when you don't react the way they expect, you make their manipulation completely useless. The first and most important thing you need to do is not react." Dr. Shari Steins, a therapist specializing in toxic relationships, once said, "You can only be manipulated if you allow them to dictate your reactions. If they go silent, let them be silent. Don't text, don't call, don't try to explain yourself or initiate a conversation. When you refuse to engage, you send a powerful message. I am not controlled by your games, and that alone can make them panic because they realize their silence no longer affects you. But ignoring them isn't enough. You need to use this time to focus on yourself. Instead of wondering, what did I do wrong? Start asking, what can I do to make my life better? Jordan Peterson once said, no one can control you if you're not dependent on their approval. This is especially true when dealing with a narcissist's silent treatment, when they expect you to crumble, but instead, you're out living your life, improving yourself, focusing on your career, health, and relationships. They will feel like they are losing their hold on you. Another crucial step is to not allow them to come back without accountability. Dr. Henry Cloud, author of Boundaries, stated, whatever behavior you tolerate is the behavior you will continue to receive. If they suddenly reappear, acting like nothing happened, don't just let it slide. Make it clear you are no longer a person who tolerates manipulation. If they want to be in your life, they need to prove they are capable of treating you with respect. When a narcissist realizes their silent treatment isn't working, they will try something else. They may suddenly act affectionate, apologize, or even try to guilt-trip you into feeling bad for them. This is where you need to shift the power dynamic. Dr. Craig Malkin, author of Rethinking Narcissism, once said, narcissists need you more than you need them. They just don't want you to know it. Don't immediately respond when they come back. Let them prove their worth. Let them feel what it's like to be the one who has to earn back your time and attention. Finally, if this is a deeply toxic relationship, consider cutting ties completely. A person who repeatedly uses silence as a way to control and punish you will never provide a healthy, loving relationship. Dr. Ramani has often emphasized, you can't change a narcissist, but you can change how you respond to them. If you have the option to walk away, do it. If you can't, at least make sure you're not allowing them to keep using silence as a weapon against you. Narcissists think their silence will make you weak. They expect you to panic, beg for their attention, and return to a submissive state. But when you refuse to play their game, when you continue to thrive without them, when you take back control, their game is over. You don't have to beat them at their own game. All you have to do is stop playing, and when you do, they've already lost. That is the real power. Narcissists believe that silence is their ultimate weapon, that they can manipulate you simply by disappearing, cutting off communication, and waiting for you to beg for their attention. But what they don't see coming is that you have the power to turn the tables. When you stop being controlled by their silence, when you refuse to chase, when you use that time to become stronger instead of weaker, they are the ones who panic. They lose the very thing they crave most, control over your emotions. And when a narcissist realizes they can no longer manipulate you the way they used to, they begin to spiral in the very emptiness they created. The most important thing I want you to remember is that you are not a victim of this game. You have a choice. You have the power to walk away. You have the right to live a life free from those who only seek to manipulate and control. And, most importantly, you have the right to freedom. Never forget, their silence does not diminish your worth. It only exposes the emptiness inside them. When you stop reacting, stop seeking their approval, and stop allowing them to control your mind, you win. Not by beating them at their own game, but by refusing to play at all. And that is how you take back your power.